Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. Today we're doing Frostpunk 2 on ARC GPU. And we already know that the ARC A310 can even play the game because the dev actually put the ARC GPU in the minimum and recommended setting. So the A310 for the minimum and the A770 8GB variant for the recommended setting. But we're going to try all of them. Beside the A770 8GB, I have the 16. Welcome to Respawn PC. I'm Dunk. Let's game on. We're going to test all the card on the i5 12600K 32GB of memory. Starting off with the lower hand of the ARC GPU, the A310, a 4GB VRAM card, low profile and don't require external power. The GPU is pegged at 99%, giving us 53 FPS. The VRAM is at 4.08, so we're using a little bit of a system memory to be able to run the game. The CPU is in the 14 to 21% of utilization, and for the system memory, we're using 12.7 to 13GB of system memory. And all that is playing at 1080p, XeSS balance, and low settings. And since this game is a slow pace, you can definitely up the settings at a medium, maybe some at high, to reach just above 30 FPS. Jumping to the follow-up card, the A380. This is now a 6GB VRAM instead of 4, and need a 6-pin external connector for power. I was able to crank the settings to medium, XeSS still at balance, and still at 1080p. Obviously, we get an average of 45 FPS, highly playable again. Maybe you can crank the settings at highs or drop the XeSS to performance, but keep in mind my city right now is rather small, so later on game it may be quite more demanding. The CPU is still in the mid-teens of utilization, and the RAM will drop a little bit. We're using a 10.9GB of system memory. For the VRAM of the GPU, we at 4.5, so we're not even using the 6GB VRAM available for the GPU. Now jumping to my favorite ARC GPU, the A580, the best budget ARC GPU you can get for the performance. The A580, a 8GB VRAM card that you can play a lot of game in high settings, like this one. High settings, 1080p, XeSS quality, we get a 53 FPS average. The GPU is pegged at 99%, and we're using 5.2GB of VRAM out of 8, so you can maybe even crank the settings to a higher quality if you want. CPU is still under 20% of utilization, and the memory we are at a 10.9GB of system memory. And if you want a bit more FPS, you can drop XeSS to balance instead of quality. That will bring you to just over 60 FPS, 61. To be exact. Jumping on to the A750, I have the Elden Ring edition card, if it make any change. This is an 8GB VRAM card, like the A580, but now I've put the settings at ultra quality. I kept XeSS at quality, and I'm still at 1080p. The GPU is pegged at 99%, using 5.9 to 6.1GB of VRAM. The CPU is starting to be a bit over 20% of utilization, and we're using 11.2GB of system memory. We're using a little bit more memory. Now my city is a bit bigger. I just changed the mission because I finished the other one. I lost the track of time and continue playing even I was finishing recording. I love a bit too much this game. I digress a little bit, so you're probably going to be able to play at 1440p. Maybe drop the settings to high or medium because we're not even using the entirety of the 8GB of VRAM. And lastly, the ARC A770 LE 16GB variant. I don't have the 8GB like they put in the recommended settings. If you want to play at the maximum visual quality, this will be it. You play at 1080p, ultra high settings, and XeSS at ultra quality. You will get an average of 44 FPS. But this is mostly a 1440p GPU, so you better have a 1440p monitor, have the settings at high and XeSS at balance or high, and you'll get around 60 FPS. Depending on the setting you choose, will be between 55 and 71 FPS. But at 1080p, you can max out everything because the GPU VRAM is only at 6.3 out of 16. So there's a lot of texture you can load on 1440p to reach higher VRAM usage. The CPU is still in the 20s, and system memory we're using at 10.9, almost 11GB of system memory. And now because of that game, it make me notice that I don't have the ARC A770 8GB variant. I need to have to go do some shopping so I can say in my video that I have every GPU ARC in the lineup. Anyway, here you have it. The almost every ARC GPU to play Frostpunk 2, because those devs actually put the ARC GPU in their minimum and recommended settings, and the minimum was the A310, which is the lowest you can go. On that note, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. And subscribe.